Yeah, okay, we'll just do it. This week on NWP.
Or we can go with that.
No, we're not going with that.
Yeah, we can. Good.
This week on NWP, it's a big 6-0 and we've got nothing for you. And welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 60. I am Julian, and I'm joined as always by Patrick.
I've always got something for you.
Aw, rocking those awesome headphones, which you can't see, but they look really good on him.
We have Nintendo Gold wireless headphones. Not Nintendo, PlayStation.
Oh.
Shoot. Start it over.
No, we're already too far. We also have Angelo.
Hi.
Damn you.
This is going to be like the thing I do from now on. Even if I have something brilliant, I'm just going to go hi.
Call you the Ryan Scott of the Nerds Without Pants podcast. All right, so yes, we are coming to you. Well, I guess we'll save that for next time. We're basically recording 2 episodes this week. You'll figure out why in a little bit, but this time we're just going to be doing all Consumption Junction. We probably got a lot of stuff to talk about. And then we're going to be doing something special for your holiday episode. But we've got lots of stuff to talk about. I don't even really know where to begin. My big thing was that I went to Black Friday. Did anybody do some Black Friday stuff?
No.
I intentionally bought nothing.
Oh, or is that some sort of, like, moral high ground stance?
It was, I'm wasting my life stance.
Yeah, I have this Friday, and no, I'm not doing this with it. I'm not getting up stupid early in the morning to go wrestle with people at Walmart. No.
No, really, just the whole weekend I played my own games that I already had from, like, last Black Friday.
There you go.
That's probably a good thing to do, because I definitely have some games from, like, 3 Black Fridays ago that haven't even been opened yet. It's a sickness.
Black Friday. Black Friday is years ago, man. It's Cyber Monday's where it's at now. That's where all the cool kids are doing.
Yeah, Cyber Monday had the best deal. That was when Dragon Age went for $45 on Amazon, and I was so close.
But you just couldn't justify a 70-hour game when you have, like, probably another 180 sitting waiting for you.
At least.
Well, I mean, typically, I've never gone out on Black Friday, and typically what I do is, you know, I guess Thursday at midnight I get onto Amazon, and then I'm like, okay, here's the Blu-rays that I want, and here's a couple games that I want, done. But it was funny because I actually went to go visit my girlfriend for the Thanksgiving break, because I actually had like 4 days off. And the whole time, you know, she was really cute. She was like, no, Black Friday's stupid. Like, there's no way that I'm going to go out and fight those crowds, and it's just a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. And also, you know, she lives in Atlanta, Texas, which apparently has been on YouTube twice. Well, actually, national news twice because of 2 years in a row of having fights break out at the Walmart. And they're a one Walmart town, too, so, you know, that's serious business. But, like, after we ate, you know, I went to go take a nap, and she wakes me up, and she's like, I'm going to let you sleep. We're all going to go to Walmart, and we're going to go do some shopping and get some board games for us and the kids. And I was like, no, I'll go with you, because, you know, I didn't want to sleep all evening. And this is, of course... Right. You know, Black Friday this year technically started on, like, Thursday evening. So, you know, like, she woke me up at 7, and I think that it already started at 6. So, like, some of the, like, initial hubbub was already gone. But, yeah, I was totally at Walmart at the beginning of the festivities, and definitely saw some amazing people at Walmart moments that I sadly didn't take pictures of and add to the website. But it was an interesting experience. Like, we were there for, like, 2 hours. And I would say an hour of that was just waiting in the checkout line. But came away with some pretty good stuff. I got her the Blu-ray player that I wanted to get her for like half off. And then I got out of there with some pretty good Blu-ray deals, and I picked up Infamous Second Son for like $25. So that
there you go.
That was pretty good. So I had almost picked it up at Best Buy like a week before for $39, and I was like, Black Friday's coming, try to figure it out. So got some pretty good deals, but then it was really like online where I went too far. Where I got for myself, I picked up Ranma 1/2 on Blu-ray seasons 1 and 2, which I had those on DVD, but I had sold them a long time ago, and it's just it's like the first anime that I've bought on Blu-ray, and it looks freaking gorgeous, and it's just nice to have them in these really nice sets that are also small. They're very thin, and that's very important for me. Like, shelf space is at a premium in my household. Picked up a ton of movies. Like, I picked up the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy for Blu-ray for like $40. I think that's things like over $100 normally. So that was a big get for me. But I also picked up The Evil Within for PS4, See It Rhythm Curtain Call for DS or 3DS.
I want that. I haven't gotten that yet.
Haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I saw the collector's edition of Curtain Call. Somebody posted pictures of it on Twitter today, and I was like, that looks great.
How does it compare to the original?
Huh?
How does it compare to the original?
It's like 150 times better. Because it's got...
You have no way to quantify that.
Yes, I do, because...
But it's a proper sequel, I think. Like, it's not just like a... I think it's like all new songs that weren't in the original.
It's got... I think it has a lot of the original songs, but the thing is it has so many more songs. Like, a lot of the stuff that was originally DLC is now on the cartridge.
Oh, okay. And
then it's got a bunch of different ways to play in, like, modes and stuff. So
they announced See It Rhythm Dragon Quest.
I heard. That was today or yesterday?
So. Yeah, the day that we're recording. The only reason I know about it is Erica Sabo posted on Facebook, and I was like, "Ball."
Shoot, that's breaking news to me.
Yeah, I'm not as big a Dragon Quest guy, but I might still end up picking that up. Hopefully, they have a better art style than the Final Fantasy one. They look like those popsicles with the gumdrop eyes.
Yeah, I really don't like that art style either. But the music, I don't really like Dragon Quest music. I don't dislike it, but I don't ever be like, oh my gosh, that song is so great when it's Dragon Quest. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a nice overworld theme. Oh, that's a nice battle theme. But nothing ever just makes me go, man, that's fantastic. That's intense. That's whatever,
My thing is that it always seems to be the same soundtrack every game.
Yeah, they that one and
also
the why can't I think of the name of this franchise now? The Tales of games. They sound kind of samey too. Although I like the Tales of music better.
As far as Dragon Quest goes, it also seems like it's the same game every game.
A little bit. I mean, there's definitely some differences, but I didn't really get into the series until 8, where you could actually see your characters, because that's a big deal for me. Because all the older ones it was just you see the monsters and that's it, and I need more.
Right.
It's kind of why I don't get into like the Etrian Odyssey games and stuff like that, because it just bores me.
Yeah, just like Terra Battle.
Yeah, same thing.
I'm still playing Terra Battle. I still like it.
That's good. I haven't played it since that first time because I've been playing I'm still playing that Spider-Man game, and I've been playing Knights and Dragons for some reason. I don't know why.
Did you like it?
No, but I've probably played it for 20 hours.
Why?
It's one of those things where it's like, you're looking at like Twitter or Facebook on your phone, and so they have like ads for like, apps on there. And one of them, and see, it's very deceptive because they know what they're doing. Like, one of the screenshots for this game looked like a Final Fantasy game where it was like blue, like menu thing at the bottom with like the names and like bars and stuff. Like, oh, that looks really cool. It's not that, but it is very much that whole like get better loot, level up, and then get better loot thing that I'm so susceptible to.
Aren't we all? We're just rats in a cage, right?
It's really, it's so sad. And the thing is, that like a lot of these games, like the free-to-play ones, they're just like a couple mechanic steps away from actually being legitimately good games. Mm-hmm. Like Knights and Dragons, like it's got like a cool, like, you can build a town, so, whatever. It's got a cool, like art style to it. Well, it's got a cool art style to the armor. Like, the actual base characters look like they were done by, like, some amateur studio. But, like, the monster designs are really good, too. But it's like, when you go to the battle, it's all just, it's just autoplay. And the only thing you can really do to, like, change the outcome is, like, when you charge up your super move, you can decide when you want to do it. But it's like, just give me basic, like, fight, magic, and item. Make it turn-based. Mm-hmm. It's a world of difference. But they just don't go that far. And it's the same thing with, like, Heroes Charge, I think, is one that I played for, like, a hot second. And it's the same thing where it's, like, really pretty art style. Like, Angelo, if I showed you screenshots from any of these games, you'd be like, oh, that looks like a really cool, like, old-school JRPG. Yeah. But just take all the gameplay out of it. And that's, it's like, just, guys, put that back in. Right. I don't know.
But the normal player doesn't want that kind of thing in a casual game.
Maybe that's, I don't know. Because at the end of the day, you're still tapping, right? Like, if you're just, like, tapping through menu items to, like, decide if you want to, do this attack or that attack, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I guess I can understand, they're trying to, like, for brevity's sake, like, if you're only playing it for 2 minutes, they want to make it where you can get stuff done in those 2 minutes. But, I think with just a little bit beefier game mechanics, like, I could end up playing that for 20 minutes, or whatever. But,
well, at least you're not playing that game that has Kate Upton advertising it.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, they actually got a celebrity. I just thought it was some random, like, sort of pretty girl.
Sort of.
That they put on a horse. I don't know.
She's like the only model to ever be on 2 Sports Illustrated Bikini Edition covers.
Okay, well, in those commercials, she looks like an also-ran, like, actress that they got at Central Casting.
She looks like any Greek goddess.
I keep seeing that ad, and I'm like, wow, you spent a lot of money clearly on this, but it's so poorly made.
Yeah,
like, the ad itself.
And there's people like my dad who are like, oh, yeah, Patrick, do you want to play that with me? I'm like, oh, come on. Like, there's no game to that. Can't you tell by the boobs?
Plus, she's not even in it. It's like...
Yeah, like, if she was going to play with you, shoot. I'll play that. That's good graphics. But then he's like, oh, well, what about Clash of Clans? I'm like, well, at least that's kind of like a decent game.
Everybody I know is playing Clash of Clans.
Well, their marketing has been really great. Like, their commercials are legitimately good. And I've heard, like, the game itself is, it's got some merit to it. It's not just tap.
Yeah, all my 9 to 12-year-old kids who love it, they just rave about it. And they're like, why won't you play with us? I'm like, we're together enough.
Half the people at work are playing it, and I'm just like, I don't get it, guys. It's similar to, like, a lot of the games that I've seen before, and I don't see what makes this one any better or different.
Is it tower defense, or is it more like real-time strategy?
I have not played it. It looks more like you sort of basically, like, build up a city. It's see, I haven't gotten a real good look at it, but I know similar games, at least from what it looks like, you get a city, you build up the city, and then you use the resources in it to attack other people, and then you get rewarded if you win or something like that, and then you can build more stuff, and then you can take out bigger enemies, and then you can build more stuff, and then take out bigger enemies.
And I think they can defeat your castle, like, while you're not around or something like that. They can do some things while you're not playing.
Okay, so it sounds a little bit like blending of, like, an RTS with, like, maybe a turn-based Civ type game.
Yeah.
But, made for mobile, so it's probably a little simpler. That sounds interesting, but not my cup of tea, for sure.
Yeah, I just mostly heard good reviews from people who play games a lot.
Yeah.
So
right.
It has
and
that's
factor. The same thing. It's like, yeah, and the people that are playing this are not... There have been hundreds of these games on devices like this, like on my phone, since they started having app stores. Like, there have been games like this out there. And I've never been grabbed by one. And then all of a sudden everybody's playing this one. And I'm like, what makes this one so much better or different? I get the hook.
Yeah.
There's always that kind of hook of, I'm going to build this. And then when that's finished, I can build this. And then I can build this up to level 2, which will give me this type of a troop. And then I can make 20 of those. And then I can take out this thing. That chain of that every RTS or strategy game kind of lives on, but over a longer period of time and on a grander scale. But it just doesn't work. At least it doesn't work for me. I don't know.
Right. Well, and my thing is also it's so weird. Like, it's hard to decide or determine like what's going to be that next big thing. You know, like so many of it's like, well, why did this one succeed where this one didn't? When they have a lot of the same mechanics, like both have great art styles. Like why is this one so much more popular? And it's
is it just polish and maybe they pay some people to play and tell other people?
Yeah, I mean, word of mouth is huge on those things.
Yeah.
But it always does. I mean, it always trips me out when I see like an honest to goodness TV ad for an iOS game. Like it's like, whoa, what? Like I see more ads for Clash of Clans than I do for like I've never actually seen an ad on TV for Dragon Age, but I've seen Clash of Clans like every time that I turn on the Daily Show. So it's like,
And I think it's just because anyone can play it. Like you don't have to have real deep critical thinking skills. You don't have to have lightning quick reflexes. You don't have to really think tactically or strategically. It's just build bigger crap and then take out bigger things, and then build more crap and then take out bigger things.
So
Angelo sounded super elitist there.
I didn't. Yeah, that came out way worse than I meant it to.
They're not playing real games like me.
But there's also something to be said of like there is an addictive hook to it. Like, and that's what I mean. Oh, Patrick, I hate to do this to you.
Oh, come on.
But when we were talking about FIFA, remember how I said, maybe it wasn't FIFA. We were talking about something I said, okay, yeah, it's addicting, but is it fun? Because one is totally different from the other. I mean, I guess some people like addicting stuff. There's something in our nature that makes us want to do this stuff. It's definitely appealing to some part of our build, but it's not. It's one note instead of like a 3 or 4 note game. If that's what you like, that's what you like.
FIFA?
I'm sounding elitist again, aren't I? I can't get away from it, can I?
Don't throw FIFA in this.
FIFA's card game specifically is what I was talking about.
Oh.
Just that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, at least FIFA does have like a legitimate solid groundwork for game mechanics and gameplay where that's all nice and works really well. It's just that other stuff on top of it. It's like.
Well, thank you, Julian.
I think that's what Angelo was trying to get at.
Coming to my defense.
I was mostly talking about just that one aspect of FIFA. If that's all there was to it, and even then, it would still appeal to people, but it wouldn't be like the same thing.
Just wait till I talk about the music later on tonight in the next episode.
That's not in this one.
Oh yeah, I mean some other day.
Yeah, when we record that in 2 weeks from now. Well, Patrick, like I've got other stuff, but I thought we'd like kind of go around the room. But like, what have you been up to, like game wise or otherwise?
I mean, let's see. There's been a lot, and I'm not sure what I talked about last time. But let's see. I played Escape Plan because that became free on PlayStation Vita, but it was cross-buy, so you can also play the PS4 version. I mean, I gotta say, I like Sony for doing stuff like that because a lot of the games that are becoming free on PS Vita, I've been able to play since they've also come out on PS4 or 3.
No, I haven't thought about it because I was just thinking about like no longer downloading the Vita stuff because I don't think I'm ever going to get one. But you're right with the cross-buy.
Yeah, and it's always cross-buy compatible. I've never seen a version that's just like, no.
Right.
So for this one, they always said it was like the killer game for PS Vita, and I was bored.
I have never heard of it. Like, what is it?
Escape Plan? I'm sure if you looked at it, you'd see and be like, oh yeah, that used to be like able to play at Best Buys and stuff like that. It's like a really gray and black game where you have like these claymation characters and you basically walk from the left to the right of the screen and you have to do things like pull objects back and forth and make sure your guy can get through, or also like kill other enemies by like dropping an object on top of them or something. It's very good for Vita because there's a lot of touch controls, it seems like, but I use the touch pad on the PS4, that thing in the middle. That if it had the actual game on the screen would be great, but like it's not really made for PS4, and I liked it kinda just because I like games.
That almost sounds like we were just talking about on the iOS.
Yeah.
I like video games.
It was like just enough for me to keep going, and like before I started playing, I was like to my friend Ray, like, you got to see this, or like, it'd be cool if you wanted to see this game because I'm about to play it, and it's like the killer game for PS Vita, and it actually came out cross-buy and stuff, and then we're both sitting there. I was like, I'm sorry.
That's a really endorsement, Patrick.
Yikes.
But I mean, it's not that it's not that it's bad, it's that it's boring.
It's bad.
In this day and age, I almost feel like that's one and the same, because like that's definitely one thing that I noticed with some of my purchases recently is that if they're not hooking me in the first like 20 minutes, I'm kind of out. Because which is bad because like a lot of games take a while to warm up, but I think I'm past that. I need to play Final Fantasy 13 for 20 hours before it starts to get really good.
Yeah.
This is like the levels are like seconds long, like 3-5 seconds. You got to complete them as fast as you can. And you don't even actually have to complete them to move on to the next level, but there's high scores, so you want to have those. And you can control this little guy and then this big fat guy, and they switch, and you're trying to escape a prison kind of thing. It could get better.
It sounds a lot like Thomas Was Alone. It also sounds like your reaction to it is my reaction to Thomas Was Alone, where it's like, well,
kind of like Thomas Was Alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe he should have stayed alone.
It's like, well, this is all right. Like this is a really great, like final project for somebody at DigiPen or something. It's not necessarily what I would call ready for prime time.
Thomas Was Alone's actually the only game I bought multiple times on accident or on purpose, but on accident.
Oh, because you got a Humble Bundle, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I got it again on like PS3's sale when it was like 50 cents or something like that. So, God, curse them.
And then it was free.
Yeah, and then it was free, so I got it 3 times. But that game's okay. It just gave me a headache, is all.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think it would probably be a great thing to play like on my iPhone, but not necessarily I'm not going to sit at my on my couch on my PS4 and play that to completion.
Mm-hmm. So there's that. Did I tell you guys that I beat The Binding of Isaac?
No, I don't think you've actually had a chance to talk about Binding of Isaac on the show.
Okay. Well, that was way back before Thanksgiving, so I might have, but
I think you just talked to us about it off air, but not on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I did or didn't, I like
the new one or the old one?
The new one, Rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I beat the thing up to Mom or something like that, and I thought I had beaten the whole game, but recently my friend came over last weekend and was like, "No way you actually beat that game." I beat it the first time I sat down to play it, after I came home for this week-long retreat I was on, and it was just simple when I got this one power up, and I thought that was it. But then he said there were these other levels, a cathedral and stuff, and I was like, I don't think so. There's only 6 levels in that game, and they're randomly generated, and they just, you can keep going through it, but a lot of the trophies are beat this level 40 times, and it's I'm not going to do that. No. Yeah. Why? So I can get one more character?
Because it's a roguelike, right?
But if you beat the whole roguelike game, I don't want to go through that again.
Right. Well, I guess it depends. Because I know it's pretty short, right? A couple hours or so. I mean, because FTL is kind of the same thing. I mean, I've never finished FTL, but ostensibly you could finish a game of FTL in about an hour or so. But you kind of for me, I just kind of want to always go back because I just like the gameplay. But I don't know. It seems like that one, once you've seen it, you've seen it. I don't know.
Yeah. Everyone's a little bit different. You don't really know what any of your power-ups do, so I'm still excited to try stuff like that. But with all the other stuff out there, I'm probably not going to get back to it, especially because I didn't pay money for it.
Yeah, it's a really great thing, but games are getting so devalued these days. With both Xbox Live Gold and PS Plus, where it's yeah, I guess I'll download that. I probably will never play it, but I got it now.
Yeah, just Injustice I got for a second, and I played the tutorial. I was great, I get to be Batman. And then the second half of the tutorial, I had to be Superman. I was that's it. No.
You have to be Superman for one thing.
I know. Yeah.
No, it's funny. I was surprised at Injustice because I think that's the first like full retail PS4 game that's come on PS Plus.
I think so.
Am I right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to download this. And then I got there is not enough room on the hard drive to download this game. And I was like, what?
Oh, wait, there was Drive Club.
No, that hasn't come out yet.
I know.
They were supposed to.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, and again, like going back from what I was mentioning like on the last episode about like me kind of getting nudged, kicking and screaming towards this digital future. You know, it turns out that even when you have a disc for a lot of these like retail PS4 games, you end up downloading the entire thing to your hard drive anyway. Mm-hmm. So, because I was like, how am I out of space on a 500 gig hard drive when, you know, I've only downloaded 3 apps and then a handful of the downloadable games, which are all like around 2 gigs or less. And then, you know, I go in and it's like, oh, well, Diablo 3 was 33 gigs and, you know, Dragon Age was 44 gigs. And it's like, what? But I have the discs. Why did it download the entire game? And, you know, it's like, at that point, it's like, well, why am I even buying the discs? Like,
because load screens.
Right? Well,
right.
That's why they have to put everything on your hard drive, because you don't want to wait to play.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I actually did feel like I should have bought Diablo 3 digital anyway, because like I kind of just always want it like just a click away. You know, I'm getting to that point where it's like, I have to put a disc in. But I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards the point. I mean, there's something to be said about being able to trade stuff in. You know, I'm about to trade in a whole bunch of games that I just didn't care for that. You know, to get something different, like maybe some movies or a different game.
You don't think they'll be valuable any day or anything?
No. Not these particular. I mean, we're talking about like, you know, Killzone and like, you know, launch stuff, like tons of them out there. But I'm leaning almost more towards just like, if there's a really good collectible, then I'll go ahead and get the physical, but I'm almost leaning more towards, I'm just going to do digital. Mm-hmm. You know.
Because the other good thing is, like, once the next system comes, if it actually is backwards compatible, it'll be a lot easier to download all those games again, or if you get another system, you can move them right over. I think digital's a lot more convenient in a lot of ways.
It's getting to that point, and there's also, like, you know, because my thing is, well, if it's going to take up all this hard drive space anyway, it kind of removes that ability to be like, oh, well, I have 30 games and I can just pop in a disc and play it because but I don't have the hard drive space to hold the information for all those games. So it becomes the same thing as buying them digitally anyway. You know, like I can only really hold like 10 or, 12 games on there before it fills up. So I don't know. It's really a bummer, but yeah. So yeah. But like you, Patrick, I played like the training mode for Injustice and I played a little bit of the story mode and I was like, yeah, I mean, this still plays like a Mortal Kombat game, which means that the animation is really janky and combos don't come out quite the way I want them to. So
it doesn't look like you can really combo stuff, but it technically is a combo.
Yeah, well, they changed something with Mortal Kombat 9, and it definitely Injustice has this too, where it's like it almost feels like there's some sort of input delay, where it's like where they say like, oh, hit triangle, triangle, square to this combo, and I'm like, yeah, I did that like 4 times and nothing came out.
Yeah, I did that too. I like pressed it slowly because I see the animation. Like it's not done with the first punch yet,
right.
But it wanted me to do it way quicker. I did it like so fast. I'm like, I'm done with the third press of the button before the second move has even come out, and it worked. But
sometimes, it feels very imprecise to me.
Once I saw that, I was like, I'll wait for the next Tekken. That's fine.
Yeah, well, Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, are you guys thinking about getting Either of you guys are thinking about getting the new Mortal Kombat? Because that game looks gorgeous.
I mean, I probably will because I'm a big enough Mortal Kombat fan, but I don't know how much I'm going to end up playing it because I ended up playing 9. I played through all the story mode, which is amazing, and then I played it online for like maybe 5 or 6 matches, and I was done.
You know, I just realized there's a new Tekken, new Street Fighter, new Mortal Kombat, and a new Guilty Gear, all kind of coming out around the same time within the next couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Guilty Gear and Tekken
nuts.
7 are both 60 frames per second too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Street Fighter 4 definitely brought back fighting games. I mean, that's how we ended up getting Mortal Kombat 9 and Tekken 6 and Street Fighter versus Tekken and stuff like that. Like,
Tekken versus Street Fighter.
No, we never got Tekken versus Street Fighter. I think that got canceled. Unfortunately, because that was the one that I was more interested in seeing. I wanted to see how they shoehorned the Street Fighter characters into Tekken rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
But sadly, I guess that'll never happen.
You can't really do a Hadouken or a super move with 4 buttons. You know?
Or in a 3D arena where it's like you can just like, oh, there's that big ball of energy. Let me just step to the side. But
you have to go really fast or something like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean,
you know what they didn't announce? There's no new Battle Arena Toshinden game coming out. So there's that franchise is not coming back.
I don't know about a new King of Fighters.
King of Fighters I could see eventually, right. but I do not see us writing a MIA on Battle Arena Toshinden anytime soon.
Toshinden was a joke. I was not serious about that.
Hmm.
Oh, that thing was so mind-blowing in 1995, though.
Yeah, it was really. I loved it because it. But in hindsight, I loved it because of the novelty, not because it was a really solid game.
Yeah.
Angela, can you give me a history on that game? Because I don't know it.
I can tell you my history with it, just that it was one of the games that I got with my first PlayStation, and it kind of blew my mind because it was the first good home 3D fighter that didn't look like crap.
And I think it actually came out just slightly before Tekken, so I think technically, other than like, Virtua Fighter on the Saturn, it may have been like, the first one for the PlayStation, like the first, 3D fighter.
I was thinking Virtua Fighter.
I think it definitely was.
Yeah.
Which is why everybody bought it and played it and knew what it was. But it was real floaty. Combos were kind of hard to line up. They had weird moves that you could only use at like low health that were just ridiculous strings of like button entries you could push in, but that would just annihilate. Like, if you got this combo off and your opponent wasn't blocking the first like hit of it, it would take off, I want to say like 3/4 of their health bar, which was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But that was only, you can only do that if you were like almost dead. So it was a weird game.
Also, kind of like an Ultra in Street Fighter, no?
Yeah, but it doesn't...
but more like really overpowered. Like Ultras are, you can come back from an Ultra usually. Like if they don't do it at the right time, and you still have health left, you probably have an Ultra of your own ready after that, so you can retaliate. But
I love that.
And it has to hit.
Yeah.
The fighting game I'm really waiting for is the sequel to that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fighting game they had.
That was a really pretty Super Nintendo game. Are you talking about the Super Nintendo one or the Genesis one? Because the Genesis one was kind of crappy.
Well,
they were both kind of crappy. I mean, like
the Genesis one.
The Super Nintendo one looked good, but it played like garbage. Especially after Street Fighter. You're talking about a game that came out in the era of Street Fighter 2, man.
But in the era of the Street Fighter clone, it was a pretty good Street Fighter clone because it had like actual 2-in-1s, had some pretty good moves, and it was like some of the biggest sprites I'd seen in a fighting game. Like they actually kind of put Street Fighter to shame a little bit in the graphics department.
I just remember it looking great and me being nostalgic because I didn't know anything about gameplay in fighting games at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely did, but I mean, it was better than Weapon Lord.
Anything's better than Weapon Lord.
Weapon Lord was so hyped though, like it was like
I know.
It was like on like 3 GamePro covers in a row.
So disappointing.
It was.
You know what? Metal Warriors wasn't really a fighting game. Did you guys ever play that?
Yes, I think I own it.
Okay. That is
Before
a
my
fantastic Super Nintendo game. Absolutely amazing. The combat, it's not really a fighting game like in the sense of like a one-on-one fighting game, but just you two in an arena. It's almost a little more like Bushido Blade if you want to think about it that way.
Oh, I love that.
Where like you're in an arena and you can move around and get position and stuff, but you could hop out of one mech and into another.
Oh, I'm thinking of something different.
Ooh, hopping a mech on a fighting game? Damn.
Yes, it was mech combat. And
I mean, Cyberbots from Capcom. Cyberbots? That one with Mecha Akuma?
No, this is...
No, but I mean, there was that too. I'm just saying.
The single player was terrible. It was all like mission based, but it felt like it was built just for player versus player. And I wish we rented that game a lot.
See, I didn't know there was a 2-player mode in it. I only played the single player and I loved it because it's a sequel to Cybernator. Which
talking about the same game, LucasArts?
It's Konami. Metal Warriors?
Different game.
Hold on.
I just looked it up. Like
Wikipedia.
Metal Warriors is like a really awesome Konami like platformer. There might be a two-player
losing
mode.
my mind. I was a kid. It's very likely that I got the wrong developer. I'm not really.
Everyone, bear with us for a second here.
That's
While we
the
go
only
to-
problem of having an encyclopedic knowledge of video games is that sometimes things get muddled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Metal Wars. It was Konami. Good call. Yeah, this game was fantastic.
Yeah. So was Cybernator, but Metal Warriors was like far superior in every way.
It was great. Really similar to Assault Suits Valken. Cybernator. Yep, that's
So
it.
can we MIA that? It sounds awesome.
We should. Dude,
Nope.
Prometheus. I'm looking at the names of these bots, and I'm like, oh, I remember getting a Prometheus and being like, you're done.
There would be like 3 people who would read that and actually care.
Yep.
The developers
Ballistic
might
was
though.
fantastic, too. Ballistic was a ball-shaped robot that was basically just a gun that would compress into like a ball shape, and you could roll it around the arena. But it had a charge shot, and if you hit somebody with that thing, it would darn near kill him. And I shot my brother with that from like across the entire level one time. It was amazing. I still remember that. So, yeah, that's a great game. I want to play that now.
With all these developers that are looking at pixelbit.com, though, Angela, I mean, who knows what happens with this MIA?
Do you want to toot your own horn a little bit, Angelo?
So maybe the developers from Rollers of the Realm saw my review and made some comments in it, and I think that's really cool. I have been kind of dropping their name on Twitter for a long time, because the minute I saw this thing, I was like, this looks incredible.
I think that's really awesome. Like, I think that
A little surreal.
I think that when you're a little studio like that with a little game like that, like anybody that's talking about your game, like you should definitely try to seek out and
Right.
you know, at least like engage with. Like, you know, of course, like Kotaku's going to talk about it at some point, and I'm sure, like, I mean, Giant Bomb did a quick look on it, so that's huge for them. But at the same time, like, Giant Bomb probably isn't going to review it. You reviewed it, so you know that's kind of awesome.
It's kind of neat. And they went through we don't have anonymous comments, so they went through the process of creating an account just to comment on the review, which was kind of great. I think that was really neat. I was like, oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, now get them on the show.
I'll maybe say something. We'll see.
Work your Angelo mojo.
Yeah, if you're listening, guys, please.
You would be our first
podcast.
honest to goodness like video game developer guest. Like
That's fun.
that'd be a nice feather in your cap. I don't know. Be a nice feather in our cap too. Speaking of feathers and caps,
It's your show. You do it.
I was going to ask Patrick if he had other stuff. It wasn't an actual like segue.
No, mine was terrible
yeah.
too. Just go with
I
it.
don't have any feathers. I don't know.
You don't have a tail feather?
Oh.
Get tail feather.
Speaking of seductive comments, I was playing XCOM. It made me think of Rob.
Rob was pretty high on that game.
Because goddamn, that
that
game's
too.
hard, and he thinks it's easy.
I don't remember him saying it was easy. I remember him saying he had like some really like heartbreaking battles where he lost important people a lot.
Okay, because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about going back and didn't for a while. So now I'm like 10 hours in out of a 15-hour game, and I don't have very good like soldiers anymore. They're gone. And like I have just enough to get like to the end of the battle that I'm at, and then just get decimated by the final like armies that I have to. Man, there are these spiders that just like go across the whole screen. It's a turn-based game, and you don't get a chance to move back if you move slightly too far on accident. And so you go like into the fog of war just a little bit, like to the next place where there's cover, and then these like spider bots just all of a sudden they walk all the way like out of the darkness and right next to you and just like take you down. Like, damn, this has been a half-hour battle, and all of a sudden you came out of nowhere just to say, ha, try again.
Well, you know, Patrick, like I haven't played XCOM, but I heard a lot of people talk about it, and it almost reminds me of my experience with Valkyrie Profile on the PlayStation 1, where I got like halfway through the game and was like, I should start this game over because I didn't know how to play it until now.
Yeah, the other thing was like I didn't put satellites out on top of different countries, because the cool thing is, in addition to being like this tactical commander, you're also like the commander-in-chief of like your country, and you have to send these satellites out to different countries to make sure like they're not panicking, and you're trying to help them with like your armies and like making sure like you could see the aliens come from outer space and stuff. But I didn't know that you could. So like, yeah, like 7 missions in, all of a sudden I'm scrambling to make these satellites, and there's 3 different steps before you can get a satellite like punched out onto the different countries. Like, Asia's gone. I mean, sorry,
you
Asia.
didn't know? They're just gone.
Yeah.
Biggest
First
landmass
it
on
was
the planet.
Japan.
Sorry.
I was
Crap
like,
happens.
damn, I need to save India. Just part of Asia, but
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like if you start a new game, like you'll know like ahead of time, like, oh, well, I need to plant these seeds now, you know, to have them ready by this step, and then be a bit, you know, better prepared. But yeah, I mean, I don't know
like,
if it's a problem with tutorial or if it's just like that's the way they intended it to be played.
That's how those games have kind of always been. Like, I remember playing the original on the PC and saving and reloading constantly. Like, it's just kind of how those games work.
That doesn't fool me.
Well, the reason is because the game mechanics are kind of like, well, you don't really know what they do. You don't really know what the enemies are going to do. But once you figure it out, you're like, oh, all right, now I know how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I had friends that would literally make a move, and if they didn't like how they move went, they would reload the game and make a different move, and that was a little bit excessive. But
so Patrick, maybe it, like you said, it was a 15-hour game, but maybe in actuality it's more like a 40-hour game because they're intending you to play through it like 3 times.
Yeah, or fail twice.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like get so far and then, oh, this is, you know, I'm borked now. I need to start over, and then you get better the next time, and then, oh no, I should have done this better, and then the third time's a charm, maybe.
Yeah, I want to try to find ways around it. Like, I was stuck at this one battle because I didn't have some of my wounded soldiers come back yet. Because in addition to having like your high soldiers, you also have to be training new ones, like weaving them in with like your like high-ranking officials and stuff, because sometimes they get hurt and can't battle. But then I was at this one, so it goes in days, and I was at this one battle that I couldn't get past, and all this, I just kept clicking on it, and for some reason I bypassed it. I don't know why. Like, maybe I was in a dream or something, but all of a sudden I didn't have to play that battle, and then I was like at the next battle, and I had all my soldiers again. It was great. But there might be optional battles, and if so, I'm going to have to figure out how to, you know, bypass the battle I'm at. But this one's like definitely not one I can stop, which is the problem. Yeah, and then there's like all these different guys who you can put different scopes on or med kits, and you know, if you're a guy with a med kit you can get this guy who has a med kit package instead of just one med kit. He can have 3 for 1. If he dies, you're screwed because he's the only guy who can revive critically wounded soldiers. And so like you have to make sure he doesn't get hit, but like if you move up in the wrong direction, it's going to happen anyway. I don't know. I retried this battle like 4 or 5 times already, and it's getting to be the point where I'm just stuck and I'm not going to do anything else with it. And that was my experience.
I'm going off what I've heard about the game and my experience with the older ones. Is there an opportunity for you to not do plot advancing missions and maybe do other missions and kind of grind a little bit, or is that off the table now too?
If there is, I don't know how to find it, and I want to because I need to.
It doesn't really let you grind like the way, say, like Final Fantasy Tactics does or games like that. Mm-hmm. But if you don't advance the plot, the enemies will still keep kind of ramping up in difficulty, but it changes the flow of the game and kind of gives you a little bit of an opportunity to catch up. I don't know if I'm making much sense.
Yeah, that sounds like that should be there, and it might just be because I can't figure it out with the menus. Sometimes I can't figure out like what things I'm buying, and you also have like this not cellar. You have this underground of different parts of the earth that you have to excavate and then put laboratories and things there. I don't know what I'm pressing sometimes or why I need to build those things. But I try to do it all, and hopefully it works out. And then there's optional missions where if you win, you can either get engineers, scientists, or just like a high-ranking official, which I always go for, because you always can use an extra man who's going to fight for you. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I still have stuff to find out. And the problem is, like, these menus and as well as the gameplay do not really have good frame rates. So sometimes I'm like clicking on things and it has delayed reactions. So I would definitely recommend playing it on PC. I feel like the PS3 should be able to run this game better, but it doesn't.
This has always been kind of a PC franchise, so I'm not surprised that it kind of runs better on PC, honestly. But I mean, the developers are obviously completely different now. It just
maybe it's a port. You're right.
Or and maybe it'll get ported to PS4 because that's definitely happening a little more, which I'm fine with. Like I heard Ultra Street Fighter 4 is supposed to come out next year, and that makes me excited because I don't know when Street Fighter 5 is coming out, and I'm almost done. I'm almost ready to pack up the 360 for a while. But speaking of strategy, Angelo, I hear you got all strategery recently.
So I think I mentioned this last year that we have a tradition in my family where we every day after Thanksgiving, or every year after Thanksgiving, that weekend, my father's side of the family, we all get together and we play Risk, and it's like a big thing. Like we just do this every year, and it's fun. And we either play like the original, we've got a couple of variants, nothing too dramatic, not like Halo Risk or like Lord of the Rings Risk, or Godstorm if you really want to get crazy, nothing like that. But we've done like some of the ones where it's like mission based. And the one we did was one that my uncles had from when they were kids that I hadn't heard of before, called Castle Risk, which is pretty neat. It's not a map of the world, it's just a map of Europe, kind of like known world Europe, like the Mediterranean Sea area, that kind of thing. You play as a nation, the French, the British, the whatever what is around, and you have a fortress, and you have to put that fortress somewhere in, like if you're France, you have to put it somewhere within the French territories, and then you have to defend it. And if another faction takes that fortress, you're out of the game because it's elimination, it's Risk. But they also take the flag, and that gives them more reinforcements. So it's just a really weird variant. And there's cards, like there's an Admiral card that allows you to actually jump from like any shoreline to any other shoreline with a certain amount of troops, but you can't stop that attack once it begins. So those troops are either there for the long haul and you win, or they get wiped out. You don't get a chance to retreat or stop the attack. There's ones that there's a card that makes your offensive dice worth one more. There's one that makes your defensive dice worth one more. There's one that lets you look at an opponent's cards. There's reinforcement cards. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat kind of a variant. We had fun with it. I didn't do too bad this year. I came in third out of 6. So
nice.
Normally I don't do that good.
You said it was like an older version of it though, right? So was this an actual vintage version of it?
Yeah.
Cool.
It was the one that they had from when my uncles were kids, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
So that's always fun.
I don't know about those variants though, like making the offensive and defensive dice more, because we used to play that every weekend when I was in high school on my friend's pool table. It'd just be like a whole weekend's worth of activity, because that game can drag on. Yeah,
you have to pretty much dedicate a day to that game if you're going to play it, and that's what we do. We say this Saturday we're getting together, we're going to have some drinks and pizza, and we're going to play Risk, and that's what we do. And there are really, if you like more complicated ones, like I said, there's variations. Like there's I forget what it is, like Risk 20, or I forget. It's like the Future Risk. There's a Future Risk one where you're fighting over the surface of the Earth and then the Moon. There's one called Godstorm, which I really, really like, except not a lot of people do because it's kind of leans a little bit more towards luck, which, but that involves Greek gods, and there's the underworld and there's magic and stuff, and that's kind of cool. Lord of the Rings, but those are real heavy variants with a bunch of crazy rules and things that really change the game up. But I was also at a Goodwill the other day, and I saw another variant, and it was for like $5. So I figured, why not? What's the worst that could happen? It was called Risk Battlefield Rogue.
No way.
Yeah, it was actually based on the video game. So it's a board game that's a combination of that and the video game. And it actually plays a lot like the video game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet because, unfortunately, the rule book... I don't know who... Like, the game itself seems really cool, but whoever wrote this rule book is an idiot. Because it's impossible to freaking read. Like, it doesn't flow at all, and it's really hard to... They don't explain the concepts well. And that's kind of important because it's not like any other Risk game I've ever played. You don't have a board.
Well, Angelo, I mean, the reason for that is because you haven't downloaded the patch yet. If you go to the Risk Battlefield blog, I'm sure it has all of these patch notes.
When I opened the box, in there was a little piece of paper that said, oh, by the way, there's a misprint on this one card. Please change the word to this. So they didn't take the card, or they didn't print another card and throw it into the box. They put a little piece of paper that said, get out your magic marker and do this.
Holy crap, I was just trolling EA, but that's brilliant.
That's almost like, it's almost like, well, it's got EA and DICE on the box.
Yep.
So it's licensed.
Well, and I was going to say, because you're showing us the box, and it reminds me of, like, the Battlefield 4 box art, so I'm like, oh, yeah, like, it's got all sorts of problems.
Yeah. Normally when you sit down for a game of Risk, you've got a board, you open it, there's your map. This comes with a bunch of these tiles, and there are also campaign cards, and based on the level of difficulty you want to play and how many players there are, the campaign cards will tell you what tiles to use. There's 6 of them, they're double-sided. It'll tell you what tiles to use, how to set them up, and what to do. And then there's different cards you draw. There's, like in the game, you find weapons and different stuff like that. So there's different icons on the cards, and like if you're holding that particular territory, on your next turn you draw a weapon card, or you draw a commander card, or you draw, and some of them the cards say like respawn, so you play that and you spawn a troop. It's weird. I
mean, it sounds like they did a really good job of converting the video game into a board game.
I mean, I have to play it because it sounds really cool. There's the armies are really small, but it's not like regular Risk. You're not trying to take over the whole board, so you don't need this monstrous army. You just need enough to make a squad. So there's only about like 20 troops per color, and the dice are weird too. I mean, then there's commander tokens, and there's cover. Your dice get stronger. There's different dice that you roll when you're in cover versus when you're not in cover to kind of designate whether or not you have that advantage. So kind of looking forward to playing it now that I finally figured out how to play the game, because it looks really really neat. I hope it's not disappointing. Also, these cards are crappy.
Damn.
It's weird. Like the components are they're across the board. They're strange. Like the dice have a nice weight to them, but let me get one out of the. Well, people can't see this because this is radio, but like when I got it, there was a bunch of decals. And these dice had nothing on them, and I had to put decals on these dice so that you could see whether or not you scored a block or not, or a hit. And it's just like, that's weird.
I would just like to say for the listeners, Angelo is going into full-on, like, YouTube reviewer rant mode.
It's weird.
It's like,
I'm sorry.
Bro.
But the cards are garbage. Like, I almost want to... Gosh, now I am sounding like a YouTube reviewer. I almost feel like I need to put sleeves on them, because they just feel like... They feel like they're going to wear out after I use them twice. So, but those are my complaints, and those are my observations. And that's my review of the game. Like and subscribe. Rate us on iTunes. So yeah, I'm going to try that out at some point. I know my oldest will definitely be into it because he loves anything military themed. So that's kind of cool. Speaking of kids... Do you want me to just keep going, or do you want to move on to something else?
Well, no, you set up such a good segue. I think.
Okay. Speaking of kids, my oldest was out of the house, and for the weekend, and it was just my wife and I and our 11-year-old. And my wife she has Amazon Prime, and she found a movie that she had for a free rental. She goes, "Okay, I want you to see if you can figure out what movie this is within just listening to the first 5 seconds." And it was the opening to the Neverending Story, and I had it in 2 because I've seen that movie 50 times in my childhood, probably. So we started talking about it and how good the movie was. And my 11-year-old is sitting there, and we go, we should watch it. We should show him this movie. And he goes, I don't really want to watch it. It's like, it sounds weird. I was like, it is weird, but it's a good kind of weird. You go, no. So he actually ended up arguing with us just a little bit on it. We fired it up because we win because we're the adults. And said, just sit here and watch it for 15 minutes. If you don't like it, you can go play video games or whatever. So he sat there watching it, and he didn't get up. He stayed there and watched it, which I think is kind of neat because the movie gets off to a slow start.
And it's also super dated. So that was my concern. Was like, well, there's no CG. The special effects aren't all that great.
They're all practical.
Well, they're not great practical. Maybe even for the time. You know, except for maybe like the rock guy, like he always looked really good, but
they were all pretty. Honestly, the dragon was the one that kind of held up the least, if that makes a difference. But I don't know if that's because I know how to see through all that crap now. Because when I was a kid, all this stuff was real, and even as we were watching it, there's this section where he's like on the back of this, giant
fur couch
thing, right, flying through the air, and it's obviously a green screen, like so obviously a green screen, and my youngest looks at me and goes, "That looks awesome! I wish I was in this movie doing that. That looks like the best thing ever." I'm like, well,
that's really nice to hear, actually. Like, yeah. I thought for sure him being of that generation that like anything that isn't CG is just going to be like, nope, lame.
But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe because they're so used to CG that when they see something practical, they're like, "Whoa, that looks really real." I don't know.
That's a good point.
And the werewolf thing freaked him right out.
I was going to ask.
Terrified of that thing. Oh my gosh, he was terrified of that. He's like, I don't know if I want to watch this anymore. He got sad when the horse died. It was pretty. He was along for the ride, like perfectly. Like the only thing is, I forgot how bad some of the acting is in that movie, especially the main character, like the kid.
He's so bad.
He's terrible. And the rest of them are okay. Like they're nothing. Nobody here is stellar, like mind blowing. Give this person an Oscar, but except maybe the old man. I kind of liked him. But it was the other thing too is I also realized like some of the stuff I couldn't understand what the kid was meant by it, and it's because his acting was so bad. But as a kid, you don't even realize that. Yeah,
you just end up being a little confused and you don't know why. But it was really cool to see.
What just happened?
No, because I actually watched that with my best friends like a few years ago because we hadn't seen it in forever. I mean, like you, Angelo, I saw it like way too much as a kid. Mm-hmm. To the point that it was like, even when they suggested watching, I was like, man, I don't know. Like I saw it so many times. Same thing with Flight of the Navigator. I still don't feel like I can go back because I saw that movie so many times as a kid.
Never even saw that.
Oh well, you should see it, Patrick, for sure. But
you didn't watch it.
Just kind of a Disney World trip kind of throw-in thing. There was a Disney World. They have a backlot tour at Hollywood Studios, and it's a ride. It's supposed to feel like a backlot tour where they're driving you around, but everything's obviously set up and all that stuff. But they have authentic props from these shows, and one of them was actually the ship from the Flight of the Navigator, which I thought was really cool.
And I heard they just got rid of it too.
They did. Yeah. We were this year. They're getting rid of that, and they're getting rid of Maelstrom from Epcot. And I'm just like, wow, we were like, this was the last year to go on those rides, and we went on them, and that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's like, backlot tour, okay, but Maelstrom is awesome. I can't believe they're getting rid of that. So
yeah,
but they're making it Frozen themed.
I love me some Frozen. And
I do too, but they're killing Maelstrom to make it Frozen? Really? Okay.
Well, it might be one of those things where that's going to be like like once Frozen plays out, that's also where they'll put like the next big thing. Whatever that may be, Big Hero 6 or whatever. But no, like going back to the Neverending Story, like I definitely felt like when we watched it, it was still entertaining, but I was like, that needs a proper sequel. Like it needs a proper sequel with a better child actor that isn't the kid who is in Anchorman 2, because that is the most dreadful kid I've ever seen in a movie. Holy crap, the kid who plays like Ron Burgundy's son, dreadful every scene that he's in.
I haven't seen Anchorman 2 yet.
You don't really need to. But I almost feel like
I liked it.
I almost feel like it was intentional. Patrick, do you feel like it was intentional, him being that bad?
Like, I felt like the whole movie was supposed to be that bad. Intentionally.
Maybe, yeah.
Like Ron Burgundy's character is intentionally bad acting, you know? Like he's intentionally the bad newscaster, right? So.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
So he should intentionally be the bad child actor, you know?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what they were going for. Because I think they kind of try to do the same thing with Talladega Nights with his kids Walker and Texas Ranger, who are also really bad actors.
They were just hicks.
Yeah.
Oh.
And hicks can't be good actors.
Yeah. Do you know what else? Speaking of
Sorry,
my youngest,
Southern America. I needed to cover myself.
Hey, I live in the South.
Oh, okay, so it's okay. You can do that. That's great.
And you love me.
Not anymore.
There was a game, I forget which one it was. I don't think it was a Call of Duty game, but it was one of those type of games. My oldest was playing it. And my youngest had the Wii U gamepad. This just happened recently. Speaking of, observations from children. And as this is going on, he goes, "Why are Japanese games so much better than Western games?" He didn't say Western. I forget what term he used. And I kind of looked at him like, huh? Really? He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, look at that." And then he holds up, he's playing Hyrule Warriors, and he goes, "And look at this. I mean, come on." And he's, what I think is like he's seeing the same stuff. It's not even hidden from kids. Like drab, gray, first-person shooter, seen a million of them. But we've never had a game like Hyrule Warriors in the house. So he hasn't been burnt out by like, Dynasty Warriors stuff over and over again. But it's bright, it's colorful, there's a lot of action going on. It's way more video gamey. It's not trying to be realistic, it's just trying to be fun. And I was like, "Oh, well, what else? And what else do you think like that?" And he goes, "It's like Mario Kart too." He goes, "Mario Kart's so much better than those other racing games." I was like, "Yeah, okay."
And
I thought that was a neat thing that he had that designation in his mind that goes, "Oh, this looks like a Japanese game, and this looks like a Western game," and he can somehow differentiate that already, even at 11. That's kind of neat, and that he has a preference too. So,
without even like actively like pushing him in that direction, it's kind of funny.
Well, he would ask me too. He goes, "So is this game from Japan?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, this one's from Japan." He goes, "Okay, where's this game from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, that was made here by whatever studio." And I'll tell him, I won't water it down for him. I'll just tell him whatever, and if it sticks, that's great, and if it doesn't, well, that's up to him.
He's gonna be such a historian. It's awesome.
He might be, and that'd be pretty cool.
He's gonna be like the next generation of Frank Cifaldis.
Oh, I hope so. But even like we were when my wife got Kingdom Hearts 2, which I'll talk about later if you want. But he said the same thing. He goes, "Wow, the music in this is really good." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's Shimomura. She's one of the best in the business." And he was just kind of like just took it, and I don't know if that's going to come out later. But he also didn't bat an eye at her being female. He was just like, "Oh, cool, okay." So just like the fact that there's a woman working in the video game industry doesn't even faze him at all. Like it doesn't strike him as odd or anything like that. So it's all neat stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's also, I don't know, it's also kind of encouraging because sometimes I wonder if all of the kids his age it's just nothing but like Minecraft and like Angry Birds.
I love Minecraft.
Well, I'm sure he does, but like, and that's fine. But it's I would like them to. Because, Minecraft is really cool for what it is, but it also is lacking, I think, in, like, actual mechanics, but, but the whole thing is that the game is just, that. You're not supposed to really be, like, conquering anything or what have you, but, I worry that, like, that's where all games are going to go, and it's like, yeah, it's just, we'll just do whatever you want. Yeah. There's no structure.
I think it's a type of game. I don't think it's going to, like, take over games. Those kind of games have been around for forever. And when they weren't, we made them up. How many times did we put 5 different toys that had nothing to do with each other together on the playroom floor or whatever, or the bedroom floor, and be like, make some sort of world together. There's this whole building and imagination thing that happens in Minecraft.
There's also the really survival aspect of it, that you have to stay alive for how long. But in addition to just being there, the girls who are the same age as, your youngest or the kids that I teach are also, both sexes are playing that game nonstop. They're all there.
Yeah, so, well, that's one thing I really do love about the ones coming up. Like even just like maybe 10 years younger than me, like where it's like, no, girls are playing games just as much as guys, and they're just as, that wasn't a thing when I was in school.
Goddamn,
that's the weird thing is it was a thing. Like I had a family of 5 girl cousins. They had a Nintendo. They played. That's where I played Zelda 2 a lot of the time. They had that game. They had I bought my copy of Final Fantasy Tactics from them because they didn't like it. They thought it was Final Fantasy. Like I said, oh my gosh, this Final Fantasy game is so great. They went out looking for Final Fantasy VII and bought Final Fantasy Tactics on accident. I didn't really like it.
Well, I mean, I guess I should amend that. Like, I mean, there were girls that played video games when I was growing up, but as far as like girls who you would consider gamers, who are like, no, I am like really invested in this, and I wear like the T-shirts, and I read the websites and the stuff. Like, that was not a thing when I at least in my schools, like, didn't happen.
I think a lot of that was because our parents, kind of that generation was a lot more about enforcing gender norms, I think, than we are. I think that has a lot more to do with it. Like, even if now you go to a toy store, here's the girl aisle and here's the boy aisle. Like, that's just how it is. And I think in a lot of stores, video games were in the boy aisle, at least until they became kind of their own thing, At least that's how I remember it. So. Yeah,
now at Toys R Us, they have their own section.
Yep.
At least 10 years ago they did.
Oh, I mean, they had their own section when I was a kid. I mean, at least the Toys R Us that I went to, like, I remember, like, you would go in, and then I would, like, it would take a left and then go straight down, and then there was the video game aisle, and I was just like,
there was a video game section, but it was with all the boys stuff is what I meant. Like, it was in that side of the store.
Well, yeah, but I guess,
it was at the end of the Lego aisle at first, and then it turned into its own section when I was really little. But, like, the girls that were my age, even, I'm a little younger than those guys, listeners, but the girls that were my age did not even play, even if their dads were, like, in the industry. I work with this one girl now whose dad was, like, an engineer for some games, like, she wouldn't tell me what, I can't remember right now because I'm buzzed, but her dad actively said that she shouldn't play games. I mean, she still plays like Mario Kart and Dig Dug and stuff, and that's pretty hot.
Dig Dug's great.
Yeah, that game is awesome, and it's hard, and especially if you can like go to like headquarters or like a bar and like beat people at it when they think they're gonna beat you, especially if like a man thinks that he's gonna beat you and you're not. Like at our age, for some reason, that's a big deal, and the fact that her dad was in the industry and like told her not to play games is like, wow, that is a gender binary that you're enforcing, like why?
Yeah.
But it might also be because he saw how games are ruining his children's brains, but I don't know.
No, that was a lot of anything new kind of cultures, a little bit of fear along with it. Mm-hmm. I think that video games went through that phase too. I'd be curious, like, what's that? Yeah, I think I'd be curious to see, because I know that there was definitely that fear with movies as well, and there still is to an extent. But I wonder if they went through this sort of, because everybody's always gone to movies, you know what I mean? And everybody's always done a lot of this other stuff. But is there ever been another entertainment medium that was, at least in its infancy, so gender mapped? So like that kind of thing.
Possibly comic books. Actually, I would definitely say comic books because you get at first it was all World War, II hero stuff, and then the superhero stuff, and then
the detective stuff too.
Right, but then eventually you had like the girl comics where they were like the romances and stuff like that. So because my mom talks about that when she was a kid, how she would read like the girl comics. And
where did Archie fall in that? Was that kind of like the middle ground?
I think so. I think that might have been like kind of forging new ground at the time.
What do you guys think about Archie? Because I pulled it out of like kids' library thinking it wasn't suitable for their age.
From what I hear, the current Archie is not suitable for their age. The Archie when I was growing up, it was definitely more of like a teen book, I thought, like maybe 12, 13-ish and up, just because, it's high school and you're dealing with like dating and stuff like that. But the humor was innocuous. The stuff they're doing recently where it's like, you know, Sabrina is like marrying Cthulhu and like, you know, there's a zombie apocalypse and like Reggie dies and stuff like that. Like,
what?
No, I'm dead serious. Like the current Archie stuff is like it's insane.
That's funny. This was always like it was just like Saturday, I don't know what. Do you remember like when we were kids there were Saturday morning cartoons, but then like for like I guess what we would call the tween demographic, there were those live action shows.
Yeah, like Saved by the Bell.
Like Saved by the Bell. It was always kind of like that level of. It sounds like it's kind of jumped the shark.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I know. Even in the old stuff, like Archie gets a new girlfriend whenever he feels like it, you know, so he treats women as if they're objects, I feel like, but I don't know. I didn't read as much as you did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, I still come from that era, so I don't really consider it like objectifying them. It's more of just like, well, he's a guy and they're girls and he's in high school, so of course he's like, you know, totally into Betty and Veronica because they're both hot and they both like him. So,
and
you know,
super popular guys in high school, at least when we were kids, kind of did get whoever they wanted.
Yeah.
Just kind of how it went. I wasn't one of them.
No. You're on a podcast called Nerds Without Pants, Angelo. Everybody knows.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm wearing a Mario Brothers mushroom shirt, so, yeah.
We didn't, like, move from girl to girl whenever we felt like it, though. Like, once you moved, you had to stick with that one for a little while and then never go back to the other one, really. It wasn't like, I mean, maybe super popular guys could just be like, hey, it's your night.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely some football players in my high school that could totally do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I played football at my high school, and I don't know any who did that. But maybe it was different times.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't tell me.
Every decade seems to be like sort of in a status of recovering from the one before. And if you think of the 80s as, or the 90s, early 90s as recovering from like the 70s and 80s, then that kind of makes a little more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think that type of mindset was kind of a little more prevalent then.
And things have definitely shifted. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of 21 Jump Street is where, you know, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill go back to school, and then everything's topsy-turvy, and Channing Tatum just hates it. Because, like, you know, all of the, like, nerdy stuff is popular now, and, you know, it's not cool to be the jock and you know, make fun of people anymore, and he just, you know, he thinks, like, this completely bizarre world that needs to be stopped.
Yeah, I love when he's like, you can't put both straps of your backpack on, man. You gotta go one strap, not double strap. And then everyone's double strapping. I'm like, yeah! I always use two straps.
I was definitely a one-strapper, but I was also not popular, so, you know.
That was your problem.
Yeah. I didn't two-strap it.
And so you know what my problem was in Outlast? The video game for PS4?
I don't know.
Video games again?
That's random, but what?
Well, I just wanted to talk about consumption before we wrap this up. And I'm really mad because I've been stuck at this one part for months and I didn't cheat. And then my roommate, not my roommate, my friend who's almost like my roommate, I've known him since high school. We got the ladies together, you know. He came over and found this, he beat Outlast, but he found this little crack in the back of this prison room. Well, after like this scientist defeats you, basically, he uses this syringe and puts you to sleep, and then you wake up in prison, you get out, and there's all these guys who are like standing around, and they might hurt you, but they don't. They're just there for God knows why. And you have to like look around the different cells and stuff. There's no way out except for this little place in the back of this one cell, this little crack that if you like just press up, like you can go into. And it's like, I looked everywhere 3 or 4 times and I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, I've gotten so far without, you know, doing any cheating on a hard mode, and I've been fine. And then he just like walks down to this one side. He's like, oh yeah, right here, right through here. Why? Does the game have to be made like that? It buckled my ability to play it for months because I didn't want to cheat. I don't know. And then he just, walked right through it. It's like, man, that's when, like, video game logic is not, real life logic. And it's, or it's just in a dark and dingy area, and it makes you so mad.
Well, hopefully this episode didn't make you mad. But if it did, you can just press up and go into that little crack and get away.
Go into that crack.
Just go into that crack. But, yes, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We will be back over the holidays with a special. Well, it's not a special. I mean, it's going to be a regular episode, but I don't know, a regular special episode, if you like. We'll have lots of stuff to talk about next time, like Destiny and Evil Within and Yonky Dong and Star Fox and Mario and Luigi. I don't know. I'm actually
presents.
I'm stealing a bit from another podcast. That's inexcusable. I'm sorry. But yeah, so we'll have a ton of stuff when we come back after the break. But we also have something special lined up for you around Christmas. So look forward to that. In the meantime, definitely check out pixelbit.com for a lot of our recent reviews and specials. You can also find us on the Twitter. Patrick.
At some boss.
Angelo.
At a roguish ham.
Yeah, baby.
And you can find me at Julian_Titus. I can tell the guys don't want to wrap up this episode, but we gotta go.
Ooh.
So keep it pants on the internet, and we'll see you later.
I have more.
I do too.
Yes, this is real music. Dark, brooding, important, groundbreaking. Check out the lyrics. Darkness, no parent. Continue darkness, more darkness, get it? The opposite of light. Black hole, curtains drawn. In the basement, middle of the night. Blacked out windows. Other places that are dark. Black suit. Black coffee. You get it, that's just the first verse. Darkness. No parent. Super rich. Kinda makes it better.
It's just tapping.
Yeah, I hate those. Do we got about 5 minutes before we get started?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's really not my fault. It's totally someone else's fault. I'll be right back.
Did the trash break open? Because that's what it sounded like.
No, that was somebody very frustrated moving the trash bag around, though. Hang on a second.
Oh, Angela's about to be in the big house.
Yeah.